Before we dive into tonight's story, if you survived till the end, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me which part kept you awake the longest. Now, let's begin. The house on Silverpine Road looked ordinary from the outside. 2 floors, pale blue paint peeling off in flakes, a broken porch light flickering in the fog. But everyone in that small Minnesota town knew what had happened there. Everyone except Detective Carla Hayes, who had just transferred from Chicago and didn't believe in small-town legends. The call came in at 3:47 a.m. A woman's voice on the emergency line whispered, "He's back inside, please don't let him in again." By the time officers arrived, the door was open, the phone dangling off the hook, and the only trace of life was the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. The woman, Lydia Morrow, was gone. Carla stepped inside. The air was cold, unnaturally cold for early October. The walls were lined with family photos. Lydia smiling with her husband, now deceased, and their teenage daughter, who had run away years earlier. The story seemed simple at first, a lonely widow calling the police in fear, then disappearing. But something about the scene didn't add up. A chair was overturned in the hallway, but no sign of forced entry. The kitchen window was unlocked from the inside, and on the countertop sat a plate of half-eaten apple slices turning brown. Carla noticed something else, a faint set of muddy footprints leading from the back door straight to the basement door. The door itself was locked. Carla radioed for backup, but before anyone arrived she heard it, a soft tapping from below, rhythmic and steady, like someone knocking on a wall in slow motion. She hesitated, every instinct telling her to wait. But curiosity won. The basement key hung from a nail near the pantry. As she slid it into the lock, the tapping stopped. The silence that followed was suffocating. She opened the door slowly, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Steps descended into the shadows, each creak echoing like a warning. At the bottom of the stairs she saw it, a small wooden chair facing the wall, and behind it a camera tripod. The red recording light blinked once, then went out. Her heart pounded as she approached. The camera had been running for hours. She checked the footage later at the station. What she saw made her skin crawl. At 2:33 a.m., Lydia appeared in the frame, sitting on the chair, staring blankly ahead. She wasn't tied, wasn't forced. Just waiting. Then a shadow moved behind her. A tall figure wearing a mask, smooth, white, featureless. He leaned close to her ear, whispered something inaudible, and she nodded. Then she stood up, walked calmly toward the stairs, and never came back. Carla paused the video, frozen in disbelief. Behind Lydia's chair, faintly etched into the wall, was something she hadn't noticed before. A word, carved unevenly with what looked like a knife. Open. But when the team returned to the house to check, they realized something chilling. The word was carved on the basement wall, a wall that shouldn't have existed. Because according to the original blueprints, that basement was supposed to end 3 feet earlier. There was a hidden space behind it, and when they broke through the wall, what they found changed everything. The wall gave way with a dull, cracking sound as the officers swung the sledgehammer. Dust filled the air, coating their flashlights in a ghostly haze. When the fragments finally fell, a narrow opening appeared, no wider than a doorway. What lay beyond it was not a room but a hidden corridor swallowed in darkness. Detective Carla Hayes stood still, her pulse loud in her ears. She raised her flashlight and took a step forward. The beam caught fragments of wallpaper, the same faded floral pattern from the rest of the basement, but older, brittle, and yellowed by time. The air smelled like rust and mildew. About 20 feet in, they reached a small sealed metal door, bolted shut from the outside. It looked improvised, as if someone wanted to keep something from getting out. The team exchanged wary glances. Officer Dean muttered, "Why would anyone build this down here?" Carla knelt beside the door. The edges were smeared with something dark and dried. She hoped it was paint. There were scratches, 2 claw marks maybe, near the handle. Whoever, or whatever, had been on the other side had tried to get out. When they forced it open, the hinges screamed. The stench hit them immediately, stale air, old decay, and something metallic. The flashlight beam swept across the space, revealing a makeshift recording studio. There were 4 cameras mounted on tripods, aimed at a single wooden chair in the center. On a nearby desk sat several videotapes labeled with dates, all within the last 6 months. A small monitor played static, and beside it, a notebook open to a page filled with shaky handwriting. Carla leaned closer to read. She promised she wouldn't tell. She belongs to the project now. Her breath caught. The project? Dean's radio crackled. Static. Then a faint voice. "Detective Hayes, you need to see this upstairs." They climbed out of the corridor, flashlights cutting through the gloom. On the kitchen counter, one of the evidence bags had been opened. Inside was a photograph found earlier near the phone. But someone, or something, had flipped it over. Written in thick, black marker on the back were 5 words. She wasn't alone that night. Carla frowned. Who touched this evidence? Nobody answered. The air in the room shifted as if a door had opened somewhere upstairs. She drew her weapon and moved toward the staircase. Each step creaked under her weight. The upstairs hallway was dimly lit, lined with closed doors. At the far end, one door stood slightly ajar. She pushed it open. The room was Lydia's old bedroom, neatly made, untouched. On the dresser sat a box of family photos, and next to it, a dusty music box shaped like a ballerina. Carla turned the key gently. It began to play a slow, distorted melody. The ballerina spun once, twice, then stopped halfway. Behind the music box, something caught her eye, a hidden camera lens embedded in the wall, pointing toward the bed. Wires ran behind the plaster, leading down toward the basement. Someone's been watching this house, Carla whispered. Dean's voice came over the radio again, but his tone was panicked this time. Carla, you need to get out. Now. She froze. Why? We just checked the tapes again. The last one was recorded 20 minutes ago. Carla's stomach dropped. They'd been inside the house for nearly 30. She ran downstairs, heart hammering. The basement lights flickered. The camera that had once been off now blinked red again, recording. On the monitor beside it, a live feed appeared. Carla stared at the screen. It was the kitchen. She saw herself standing there looking right at the camera. Then, from the corner of the frame, a tall figure stepped into view, smooth white mask, head tilted, standing just behind her. Carla spun around, weapon raised. The kitchen was empty. The monitor flickered once more before going dark, leaving only her reflection in the blank screen. Somewhere upstairs, the music box began to play again, slower this time, like a heartbeat fading away. And just before it stopped, a faint whisper filled the static. You found me too soon. By dawn, the house on Silverpine Road was surrounded by flashing lights and crime scene tape. But Detective Carla Hayes didn't leave. She sat on the front steps, watching the pale light crawl across the frost-coated grass, her hands still trembling. Inside, officers searched every inch of the place again. They found no one, no masked man, no trace of Lydia Morrow. Only the cameras, the tapes, and that word carved into the wall. Open. Carla couldn't shake the whisper she'd heard through the static. You found me too soon. She ordered every tape to be played, one by one, inside the precinct's viewing room. The first few showed Lydia alone, sometimes crying, sometimes silent, always seated in that same chair. But the later recordings were different. People began to appear, different women, different nights. Each one followed the same pattern. They sat, they listened, and then they vanished from frame. No struggle. No sound. Only that masked figure moving behind them, adjusting the camera, whispering something each time before the screen cut to black. On the final tape, Carla noticed something odd. The figure turned slightly toward the lens before walking away. The mask's reflection caught the light, and behind it, a faint shape like a second face, almost identical to Lydia's. She froze the frame. Zoomed in. The mask wasn't plain white at all. It was molded from a human cast, the faint outline of lips and cheekbones preserved beneath the paint. A tech officer burst into the room holding new paperwork. Detective, we ran the prints from the basement equipment. Half of them match Lydia Morrow. The other half, her daughter, Emily. Carla blinked. Her daughter's been missing for years. He nodded. Until 3 months ago. Guess where she was found? Working at a private sleep clinic in Duluth. It's called The Project. The clinic sat miles outside town, disguised as a wellness retreat. White walls, no signage. Carla arrived that afternoon with a warrant in hand. Inside, the hall smelled of disinfectant and lavender. A young receptionist smiled too brightly and tried to stall her. Carla pushed past. Down the hall, she found room 7 marked restricted. She kicked it open. Inside was a dark chamber lined with beds and cameras identical to the ones from Lydia's basement. Monitors showed sleeping patients, heart rates pulsing across screens. And on the center feed, Lydia herself, eyes closed, breathing steadily, connected to machines. Carla's voice shook. She's alive. Behind her, a soft voice answered, we never meant to hurt them. Emily stepped out from the shadows, her face pale, her hands trembling. The project was supposed to cure insomnia. They volunteered. We studied the effect of fear on the subconscious. But one patient, he started filming his own sessions. Said he found a way to make them dream what he wanted. Carla's stomach turned. The man in the mask? Emily nodded. He used the recordings to keep them in the same nightmare, night after night. Mom wanted to shut it down, so he locked her inside it. Before Carla could respond, the monitors began to flicker. Every sleeping patient turned their head toward the camera at once. One by one, their eyes opened, pure white. Emily whispered, "He's still here." The room lights died. The screens lit up with a single feed, the basement on Silverpine Road. The masked figure stepped into frame, tilting his head toward the lens. His voice came through the speakers, calm and distorted. "You shouldn't have come here, detective." Every monitor went black. The heart rate alarms flatlined. In the darkness, Carla heard footsteps behind her, slow and deliberate. She turned, nothing. Then the whisper came again, inches from her ear. "Now you belong to the project." They found the clinic abandoned 3 days later. No patients, no staff. Only the recordings, hundreds of them, each showing a different person sitting in that same chair, waiting. Detective Carla Hayes was listed among the missing. The final tape and evidence showed her sitting calmly, facing the camera, eyes closed, whispering something no one could make out. But if you listen closely at the very end of the footage, you can hear it, faint but clear enough to send a chill down your spine. If you're watching this, don't fall asleep. If this story kept you awake, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, and don't close your eyes tonight.